Three, two. All right, what's up, party people? It's Sunny Ray on the Sunny Ray Show. We're talking about building on Bitcoin. Today, I have a amazing guest. His name is Toby. He's the founder of OrdinalsBot. I'm not gonna lie, it's probably one of the most delightful websites I've come across in recent years in the Bitcoin ecosystem. Just love what you guys are doing. So let's kick it off. So, Toby, how are you today?
Yeah, really, really well, Sunny Ray. Excellent to meet you. Excellent to be on the show, and it really excited to discuss everything Bitcoin, right?
Awesome, awesome. So you and I ran into each other, I guess it was in Dubai briefly. I think we maybe passed one another in Denver. I think you were there as well. So tell me what's I guess let's start with, before we talk about Bitcoin, before we talk about Ordinals bot, I like to start with the person, right? Because oftentimes, I don't know, some of the most exciting stories come from there. What's your story? Where are you from? How did you get to where you are today?
Yeah, no, no. So I'm from the UK, from originally from Kent, and now live back in Kent. I have been all around the world living, so that's been great. The the effectively, I guess I started my career at like the Wall Street Journal and Dow Jones during the financial crisis. So that was a pretty eye-opening time to be working in an organization like that, right? So got exposed to, I guess, like the highs and lows of finance, and because it was 2007, 2008, yeah, a pretty traumatic time for the world economy, and very interesting to be in like a place really directly, like was like a front row seat on that. But I think it that almost kind of provided the perfect conditions to see the potential of Bitcoin, right? Like having worked through that time, I like at a major group observing the financial markets. It was pretty pretty interesting. And then I went and became a tech entrepreneur and started initially looking at like data around like the technology and venture capital industry, became fascinated by blockchains and Bitcoin and set up like a crypto analysis firm in about 2016, and then really got deep into I guess Bitcoin specifically because like I guess during DeFi summer got really fascinated by the whole DeFi movement. But at the same time, it sort of at the back of my head, I always felt that like Bitcoin DeFi should be a thing. And so really kind of steered myself towards like building tools in the Stacks ecosystem for a while, like waiting for that to go off, and like probably not a very well-known fact that all four of the co-founders of OrdinalsBot, we were actually building different tools in Stacks, and then the moment Ordinals came out, we went, okay, this is a really cool moment to kind of really build out something profound on Bitcoin, which I think some other like until ordinals, a lot of like the plays on Bitcoin DeFi or whatever really struggled to gain any traction whatsoever. And so
Wow, I want to be so that thank you for sharing that or starting us off there. I want to go back a little bit and zoom in on some of the things you said. So, first of all, oh, sorry, a little bit of background noise there. Sorry, Toby.
so
not the optimal studio conditions.
Is that
But
my
yeah,
side or is that your side?
no,
Is
no, no,
it?
that was on my side. I might cut that out or keep it in for some, fun. So, Toby, a quick question. So did you just say you were working for the Wall Street Journal as like a reporter? Is that what you said?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So you
yeah.
got to zoom in a bit on that. Like, well, what were you thinking? What were you feeling? What were you seeing that didn't sit well?
Yeah. So obviously like it was like it was a crazy time, right? Like lots of money was being moved around. I was actually covering like the intersection between like structured credit and private equity. So it was like and yeah, I was a reporter at the time and like very into like the like understanding what was going on within structured credit at that time. So it was like I got to really drill deep into um how the financial sausage was made at that time, right? Like it was kind of um a weird moment. And obviously it was interesting because there were lots of money being made with people packaging up financial instruments, and it was obviously caused like a massive disaster for the whole world, right? So it really like there's a reason why the Bitcoin white paper has like that Times article in it, right? Like with on the bailout of the banks. And I think like it was just very like you met a lot of people who were very smart but slightly detached and a lot of people slightly disturbed by the consequences of their actions, but like it was just a like I think it definitely showed how the financial system was ripe for reform, right? Like and gave the perfect conditions for the white paper and what we've seen since, right? Like I think we've seen
And
a
Toby, if you had
counter.
to, if you had to encapsulate it in a couple of bullet points, I think one I heard is money printing. Obviously, that's
Yeah.
one of the big kind of catalysts for Bitcoin and for a lot of our involvement. Would you say also a lack of incentive alignment was part of it, where people were making money on the upside, but then not taking losses when things would go
Yeah.
bad? They would essentially, socialize the losses. Any
Yeah,
other
yeah,
kind of things that stood
completely.
out for you? Yeah.
I mean, and it actually like I think there was not one banker went to jail after the 2008 financial crisis, which is kind of crazy, right? Like if you see um almost like the way some of like crypto mistakes go like people have been really negligent actually do get like taken to task for it, but like in mainstream finance there was a very much like the moral risk was rampant, right? Like they all got to like it was an extraordinary time because like it was so many trillions of dollars of like derivatives here, there, and everywhere, and all out of control. And the organizations which collapsed basically got a bailout and a quiet retirement for the people involved, right? And sort of brought in the money printing that to this day really has like I think caused major problems for the global economy, right? Like the rampant inflation of the last few years, I think has been sort of the consequence of the money printing before. So there's kind of like it's there were a lot of elements that provided very strong conditions for the crypto boom to take off. And I think there's what's interesting is that's really disrupted a lot of the mainstream way of doing finance. Right?
Well said. Well said. Yeah. No, I remember those days quite well as well, and it seemed like a dark period in history. Yeah, when I don't know, it almost felt like I felt helpless and almost like hopeless as well. It's like especially when you start to see through some of it and you're like, oh wait, maybe there is something wrong with the way we view money. Um, okay, so I love it. That kind of sets the groundwork for, the problem at hand, right?
Mm.
So now maybe let's zoom in a little bit on Bitcoin. So do you remember the first day you discovered it? Is it or was it like a process or something? Like how did you like how did the I'm just curious about the moment, the skies
Yeah.
parting aha moment for Toby.
Yeah, no. I think it was actually in around like 2013, 2014, and just almost just discussing and like a newspaper article with my brother and like going, should we get some Bitcoin? And I think unfortunately at that moment neither of us kind of like we kind of forgot about it, and then it was like one of those things where like it, really fascinating, but dived much deeper in 2016. So got very really because I was wanting to start a data business, and so the like I just had a lot of people go, hey, something's happening with blockchain and crypto. No one really understands what's going on. And because of that, got just completely obsessed, really. I think like as I think many would do, right? Like the moment you get and this was a time where you obviously had like Ethereum had recently been launched, so it was a very kind of dreamer utopian time in crypto. Obviously with some flaws, right? Like we look at that back now, the market's shifting back to Bitcoin and Ethereum's in a real crisis, right? But at that time it was an interesting period, and just lived through all of that, running like an analyst firm, looking at all of blockchain and crypto trends, and got to meet many crypto unicorn founders and build build some cool tech, looking for trends in that early space. And of course, like I think it was 5 years before like a lot of the technologies that could be built got properly rolled out. But it was a great time to come into Bitcoin and crypto, basically.
So you brought up Ethereum. So is that a rabbit hole you kind of fell into as well? Is that something that you tinkered
Yeah,
with
no,
a
for
lot?
sure.
And what
For
was it
sure.
about? Because by the way, I had a front row seat, right? Because I was in Toronto. Vitalik wrote the code at Bitcoin Decentral, where I
Yeah,
used to actually rent space
yeah.
from Anthony. So what was it about Ethereum that caught your attention? And then maybe dovetail us into, like as you kind of I think alluded to, is the fact that Ethereum has lost a tremendous amount of market share over the last few years, and where did Bitcoin start to kind of change your perspective, right? Because Ordinals is obviously a new phenomenon.
Yeah, no. Really, really good question. So yes, so I think it's a fascinating like world, right? Like where Bitcoin at that time I think was largely thought of as okay, it's an asset that you can hold, right? Like and as you probably know, like Vitalik was like editor of Bitcoin magazine, right? Like and gave up gave up pretty much like trying to convert Bitcoin and do more cool stuff on Bitcoin. And like I guess I'd always been from like the entrepreneurial startup lens, like been building stuff in like Web 2. So like I guess Ethereum was interesting because it was okay, cool. There's this new smart contract based funding mechanism. How does it work? And like it was the early days of the ICO, and it was definitely like the good, the bad, and the ugly of crypto, right? Like it was a fascinating time, and there were all these projects that literally like raised like tens of millions, hundreds of millions, even billions from the internet just with a sort of website, and that was a strange period, right? Like it was a bit some of the toxicity of like what we were talking about earlier, some of the toxicity of mainstream finance did creep into crypto probably around then, right? Which I think is probably why a lot of Bitcoin maxis um, sort of are Bitcoin, not crypto. You know what I mean? But I found that very interesting. I found it like a major trend where people were going, okay, yeah, I can use this new Ethereum to like as someone put it, like I was trying to figure out like what was the main use case of Ethereum and the smart contract and that at that time. And someone said to me in a Ethereum conference, well, of course, the ICO. So I just went, okay, well that's a bit circular, like a funding mechanism of like, but like it was but it was a fascinating time, and I think it was definitely where, I think Bitcoin, like a lot of the stuff that you need to scale, that you need to do jobs at that time beyond like running a Bitcoin miner or whatever, right? Like there weren't that many things you could do. Like um, uh, my CTO at OrdinalsBot, he was obviously very early in like the Lightning ecosystem and been coding in Lightning since 2016. So I think like there's a whole rabbit hole of different things that you can get into there, but a lot of the Bitcoin tech was very early at that point.
Oh man, that was good. Did anything about Ethereum in the early days give you pause? Because given how intimately you understood the challenges of money printing, and that, I mean, to me, one of the most exciting things about Bitcoin is the fact that it's limited, right? You got 21
Mm,
million, and the mining that you brought up is extraordinary. Like just the
mm.
thought of how it all comes together. But in the early days, was there anything that when you saw Ethereum, there's a lot to get excited about, Turing complete, world computer, ICO buzz, blah blah blah. But were you like kind of itching your head about some of them
Yeah,
reminiscent of maybe your olden days of
yeah,
what you
at
saw?
work, right? Like it was definitely like a very flashy, strange time, right? Like lots of people talking way too fast, drinking too much coffee, and selling you lots of stuff that didn't quite seem right. And it was a very yeah, I think that was the it was definitely like I think what I would say it was more like a time where people were proving out things and trying out new things, and nothing really worked at that moment. So it was like a really weird thing where people would like raise a bunch of Ethereum, and then like it would take years because the tech wasn't really ready for prime time for stuff to be built on top of it either, right? So like it was yeah, like that. I think like now, like we've come to label a lot of stuff in crypto like extraction plays, but I think like it was a period where people who were slightly glossy marketeers could extract quite a bit from others. So I think it was definitely a period of opportunity, a period of like experimentation. Um, but I think now, like things are evolving, that I think you're going to see, like, and I think seeing more tech be built on top of Bitcoin, I think has to be positive. I think like as we've seen, like Bitcoin has been like the dominant narrative of like all of crypto for the last few years, right? So I think that's like it's really cool that there's also like a tech ecosystem that's finally kind of moving to scale on top of Bitcoin.
Interesting. Hey, so oh man, so many questions. But how do I say this? So a lot of the people that I noticed, at least, that were against Ethereum and for Bitcoin, you could argue many of them are also kind of against ordinals and
Yeah, yeah.
being able to build Turing complete things on top of Bitcoin, etc. Um, I guess like if you were to speak to those people, what would you say? And how? And number two is how do we not go down that path? that maybe didn't quite work out so well for Ethereum? Like, how do we keep this about, the mission, right?
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I think firstly, like we referenced like the early Times article that Satoshi put on Bitcoin, right? Like that was like pretty much a precursor to Ordinals. So there's like a rich heritage of people storing data on Bitcoin from like Satoshi himself, right? Like so I think like that was always the intention was to store cool stuff on Bitcoin as well as have money, right? Like I think like the like I'd almost say that some of the maxi narrative kind of lost its way on Bitcoin, right? And why like Vitalik got frustrated to go outside was partly just because he it was there was a bit too much conservatism that crept into Bitcoin that I think actually like what I would say is more that like ordinals and the promise of Bitcoin DeFi is bringing many people back to Bitcoin who want utility, right? Like, which is the better programmers, the better entrepreneurs. Like you're not going to like 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 I think obviously had like we know mutual friends who talk about like the value of block space and its rich history and that kind of thing. I think which is clear, but I think like to get those conditions to form, you almost need to provide the tools and the ecosystem for people to figure out ways to create utility on top of a protocol. And I think like it's really is just a way of turbocharging Bitcoin, allowing a fee market to develop. Like I think like all of these things, like there's been more than 80 million ordinals created in the last 2 years. So I think that tells you that there's even at a very early stage of that technology, there's a lot of people doing a lot with this, and I think that accelerating will bring more power back to Bitcoin because it just means that people will do stuff inside the Bitcoin ecosystem rather than outside it.
Oh man, that's I love it. I love the way you answer questions. I like how you brought in that article as a reference to, information being embedded in the Bitcoin blockchain and who better than Satoshi Nakamoto to reference to, right? Beautiful. Hey, can we switch gears a little bit now and kind of, and again, I'm an insider, but I'm also kind of an outsider, as in like I'm in Bitcoin. My career's been about Bitcoin since 2011, 2012. I am an electrical engineer, but maybe not the best one. And so it's hard for me to kind of go deep into some of the technical aspects, but it sounds like you've got a great grasp of this. So I wanted to ask you something. So can you talk about and again, you can keep it at like high level, broad strokes, or go deeper, but the evolution of how we got here now? So for example, let's say 3 years ago, Bitcoin just was, but then something happened with Taproot that was almost a bit like unforeseen, I think, by some of the maxis and the core contributors. But then that led to this avalanche of innovation, and then maybe talk a little bit about BRC20, Ordinals, KC, and kind of how this all, kind of came to be. Yeah. And then also how it's not
Yeah,
reversible, because some people I think worry that, well, if the main people don't love it, then are they gonna just pull the rug on it somehow and maybe make this all disappear? So can you talk about some of those for me?
yeah, no, for sure. So I think the basically ordinals came out of Taproot. So and the cool thing about Taproot was that effectively it was a better way of storing data on Bitcoin. And you can now store data onto an individual Satoshi, which is quite cool through the way Taproot was implemented.
Well, why even do that in the first place? Like, meaning Bitcoin was working fine. Like, okay, SegWit I get, Lightning I get, but why even introduce this ability to bring data into the blockchain if you're so against
Well,
bringing
there was
data?
always the ability, but I think the I mean, I think the engineers, like the core developers, are always looking to solve problems on Bitcoin. So I think they um the effectively like there's always been like debates, right? Like in Bitcoin. So obviously you've had um like the big blockers being probably the most famous one, where people were talking about like how like you should change Bitcoin to allow more data to be stored in Bitcoin, which is like got thrown out as absolute heresy. But like back in the day, Roger Ver and Craig Wright felt that it would be something that they tried to convince people would be a good thing. But I think with Taproot, it was felt to be something that um was helpful for Bitcoin, right? Like because at the end of the day, developers are do what they do. They develop, and you want a fee market. And I'm not privy. I can't remember the exact reasons why people wanted to implement Taproot, but it was at the time, I think, felt to be a fairly standard upgrade. But obviously then I think Casey kind of latched onto it and went, okay, great. Now we've got the Taproot address, and you can store data in it in a sequential fashion, which were ordinals. And I think what that did was it just opened up people's imagination and going, okay, cool. There's this sequential system that we can store data onto, and it codifies the storing of data on Bitcoin. So I think it was almost like that little nugget of like, oh, we can store a meta protocol like this in the Taproot address quite elegantly. And then suddenly you can have like a complete like number-based system that seemed quite authentic to, I guess, the spirit of Bitcoin. Like I think that was the thing that people liked, right? Like Bitcoin's a time chain, it's all ordered, and then suddenly you had ordinals with a kind of like a logical framework for how you codified data on Bitcoin, right? Like as an ordinal. And like in that way within a Taproot address. And it's really stuck, I think, because of that. I think the yeah, I think the interesting thing about it, like you say, is once a change and an upgrade has been made to Bitcoin, you're not going to want to move away from that change, right? Because like people have made that decision for good reason, and then suddenly, uh, if they like almost like a fork away will be which is the real Bitcoin, like if you were to remove it. And I think most people would say the one that has gone in the past. I think you'd definitely end up if there was a schism and an attempt to remove Taproot from Bitcoin. I think most people would go, well, this doesn't really make very much sense. Like let's keep the one with the upgrade to Bitcoin that was voted through by all the core devs, right? Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
yeah.
think I don't think there would be many that would go, okay, let's just turn back the clock. Like I think it's more like there's obviously like new upgrades to Bitcoin that people are potentially considering, and obviously after having seen this one being quite thoughtful about whether they get implemented, right?
Love it. Toby, there's one other kind of point that I find quite remarkable is that can you talk about the difference? So in Ethereum, if I'm not mistaken, when you have an NFT, the JPEG or the image resides outside of the blockchain and it's more like a pointer.
Yeah.
Whereas in the case of what we're talking about with ordinals, the image is actually embedded inside of the Bitcoin blockchain. Like, can you kind of help maybe frame that a bit better?
Yeah, no, and that is 100% like one of the great unlocks about ordinals is they are a better version of what the NFT was meant to be, right? Like so you had um actually there were like some FTX NFTs that had pop up like your NFT is now the property of the US government, which kind of completely undermines what an NFT is meant to be, right? Like it's data stored forever on
That's
Bitcoin,
funny.
which
Yeah,
is 100% what an ordinal is, right?
got it.
And so the that whereas like if a lot of the Ethereum NFTs, the majority are pointing towards IPFS, Arweave, AWS, things you have to pay for to maintain, and basically there'll be like web links from 1990 that like try and find one that works right now. It's like it's a fascinating kind of world that we're going into, right? But yeah, the great thing about ordinals is they literally will be there forever on Bitcoin.
And before I want to get into OrdinalsBot next, but before we do, may this go wrong, horribly wrong in some way? Like, might this, for example, blow up the size of the blockchain, the Bitcoin blockchain, and make it unusable? Are there any things that you kind of think or that give you a bit of pause of this approach, or do you kind of see the light? Are you thinking, no, Lightning will handle for this, and whatever challenges we face, like kind of, it's good because miners make more money, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, and I think the miners definitely feel that way. So the I think it is like we've seen like since ordinals and runes came out, right? Like fees overtook fees made from actually mining blocks to from the fee market. So some blocks people got a bigger reward in the actual fees paid on chain. I think that's really, really important for Bitcoin to be secure in the long term, right? Because every halving every 4 years, you're going to have the rewards diminish so that the fee market really does need to take off. And then we've seen what happens in like the highest points of runes and ordinals and fees have gone up to like 2000 sats per VByte and that kind of thing. And yes, the chain has got very, very expensive, but then it's auto corrected at that time, like almost like the high period of fees do bring down transaction like it almost acts as a kind of quite clever break. So you get sort of spikes in ordinal runes, BRC20, whatever it is. But then like the cost going up causes activity to decrease and rebalance as well, right? So I think like whether like historically, I think it hasn't been cataclysmic. It's just like almost like the way it works is like it causes the market to become less overheated quite quickly because like suddenly transactions become a bit foolish to do, right? And then the other thing is, yes, I think it will just drive innovation of like going like people will need to crack how Bitcoin scales, be it Lightning, be it a layer two solution, whatever it is, right? Like it's going to force like Bitcoin to work better, which I think is great. And yeah, I think like the the reality is like you want a chain to be used and have things done on it, really.
Yeah, no, I love it. Okay, so let's maybe switch gears, Toby. Like, one of so we could call in this show "Building on Bitcoin," and so one of my goals is to inspire other builders, right? To take that move and start building themselves. So can you talk about your journey there, like your story, like what problem did you see in the marketplace? How did you step into that void?
Yeah. So OrdinalsBot was a really nice origin story, right? Like my co-founders, Brustar and Zach, basically co-found created the product over a weekend. So this is the early day of Ordinals. Ordinals had 5,000 ordinals have been created. Like there'd been a 4 MB block that dropped, and suddenly, we just built a very easy drag and drop interface that anyone could use, and they could use it with an API, and they could use it with Lightning, and like basically a day later, once we launched this product 15,000 ordinals were made. So it kind of like tripled the size of the market in a day. So we're like, oh my God, this business is crazy. It took down our server that day, and then we needed to just really just and had all the degens going get this thing up and running. And then about 40% of the first ordinals in the 100,000 territory went through our system, which was like an extraordinary time, right? Like, it was a really, really busy, crazy time with lots of people doing lots of cool stuff. And then, yeah, gradually we just rode through all the different phases of the ordinals market, the launch of BRC20s, Audi, which was a multi-billion-dollar token, was first deployed on our platform, which is quite a cool nugget of history. And then
I did not know that.
uh,
That's
uh,
freaking crazy. Okay.
yeah,
But
and
that's like really big, right? It's in like the top 50 or 100 or something like that
yeah. It's definitely been. I think it probably has been a top 50 token, and is often
wow.
a top 100, top 200 token, right? So it's yeah, no, it was a big moment.
Wait, hold on. Sorry. So, ordinals, when I usually think of ordinals, I think of like NFTs or non-fungible tokens, but
Yeah.
Ordi is a fungible
Yeah, so
token, right?
what
So, can you,
happened?
yeah.
Yeah, what happened was Domo, who's one of our advisors, basically came to our platform and he went, okay, it was almost like a bit of a back of a napkin. Here's how you might have fungible tokens on Bitcoin. And that was what BRC20 was. And he was basically if you put a few logical statements of as literally a text file going and had the meta protocol being read in a certain way and indexed in a certain way. He basically did that first inscription to deploy Audi just almost like an idea. And then it took off with everyone, and then they started sequencing it, and people were putting all these tokens, but almost like they read like a logical statement. So it was a very, very cool moment. Like he basically hacked the ordinal system to create a fungible token system on Bitcoin. That was BRC20. And now and so we had obviously a lot of the early BRC20s created on our platform, which is quite cool as well.
What an awesome story. Did you see his name is Damir? What's his name again?
Domo.
Domo.
D
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I met him actually at the Nashville conference last year. What an awesome guy. I
Yeah,
think he
lovely
lives in
guy.
Toronto as well. I've got to try and actually I ran into him in Denver recently.
Yeah, he's in Canada. I think he might be in Vancouver. So
Okay, okay. I would love to get him on this show at one point. He'd be great. So so many thoughts, but okay, I just want to kind of zoom in on so the Ordinals bot story. That's quite a fascinating one. I know you guys did a gold drop at one point, and it kind of went viral, and everyone was seeing it. Can you talk about that and maybe speak a little bit about how you
yeah,
see this narrative playing out?
yeah, so on the gold side, we obviously a group called Swarm that's doing real world assets on Bitcoin, on crypto generally, came to us when we want to do an asset on Bitcoin, we want to do some gold. So we put a gold bar onto, which was in 1 ounce gold bar onto a 4 MB block. Um, and then our plan is to do 10 1 ounce gut bars or something like that, launch them and sell them. So we now have our Trio marketplace. So we'd like to be able to effectively sell some gold bars on Trio and provide Um, yeah, just a way to hold gold on an individual sat. And we did that gold bar on a uncommon sat, so which is one of the rare sats. So that's quite a neat, the first sat of every block. So that
Can you talk about the connective tissue though between the gold and the ordinal? Like how does one know that they're connected somehow?
well, the way it will work is you can look at on chain and basically you can tell that kind of the image of the gold is stored on a uncommon sat. Then what we're doing is we're working with a vaulting company in London called Brinks, and then we're creating a system where, in theory, you could be able to redeem the gold. Like we think most people won't want to bother redeeming the gold, but we're actually going to need to go through the process of going like, how do you how do you actually like almost like the owning this ordinal gives you the right to hand in the ordinal and be given a bar and gold in return, right?
Super cool. Yeah, I'm at it or we're working on something similar. So hopefully we can do a partnership along those lines with you at one point. Fascinating, fascinating. What a crazy time, no? We talked about origins of Bitcoin, Ethereum, programmability, then the emergence of ordinals, and now we're talking about bringing gold, like the oldest money on earth, onto the newest money on earth. I mean, this is a wild time. I don't know anything, I mean, those were some of the big topics I had, that was gnawing at me and I wanted to talk to you about. But anything else you want to talk about, Toby, that you think is relevant, important?
Yeah, no. Obviously, like I think we've been known for like the work that we've done with Mara. So we've put like 19 of the largest 20 largest files onto Bitcoin at this point. So we're kind of like one of the go-to people for working with miners to put data onto Bitcoin. So that's a pretty interesting trend. And what we're trying to do is bring in auction functionality on Trio to then go, look, how do we sell um, block space basically, like and give value to block space. So that's a pretty interesting trend. Like effectively a block has 4 MB, up to 4 MB that can be stored on it. That almost creates like an instantaneous, like forever billboard in a way, right? Like so anything probably that is created as a 4 mega now, because Bitcoin won't change that limit, we're extremely confident that it won't be changed. The like because like I think there's enough like that argument's been had, as we mentioned with the big blockers kind of thing. The so effectively like there will be these files that will be the biggest files on Bitcoin forever that are created now. And so we think that that will have like each one of those files will probably have bitcoins of value attached to them just for being like almost like a historical artifact on chain as that becomes harder to do.
Interesting. Interesting. Sorry, the reason I'm looking away, I'm just taking lots of notes and I don't know, I just love this conversation. I'm learning so much. This is awesome, Toby. Well, I mean, where should people learn more about OrdinalsBot, yourself, maybe some socials as well, so that people can, dig in a bit?
Yeah. So the OrdinalsBot Twitter is at OrdinalsBot, and then we also have our Trio marketplace, so that's Trio-XYZ. We also have a Trio token that's a BRC20. So you can look at that on CoinGecko if you
Cool.
want. And then we have yeah, my Twitter is Toby Novum, TOBYNOVUM.
And then before we bring this to a close, can you just expand a little bit more on Trio? I mean, it was kind of a new thing for me when we started talking about it, and Ordinals bot obviously has kind of hit escape velocity, so everyone's heard about it. But can you just talk a little bit about it and how maybe it's different from some of the other big marketplaces out there?
Yeah, no, we're very focused at the moment on high value items on Bitcoin. So like just because of our heritage, like a lot of people have used us as a launch pad. the largest airdrop in Bitcoin history, which was the Runestone. That was airdropped by OrdinalsBot. We have many different things. So we think that we can create a bit like the gold idea, and we're also working like with a Georges Braque painting, putting art onto Bitcoin. Like we think like we can help create some of these real world asset plays. We can be a preferred place for auctions and these kind of things. And then what we do want to do with Trio as well is do a kind of Trio DeFi and create a better market for liquidity pools on top of Bitcoin and some of the things that you see in other ecosystems, try and bring them on top of Bitcoin as well.
And it's TRIO, right? Dot
Yeah,
XYZ.
TRO. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, well, Toby, if there's nothing else, we can bring this one to a close. Thank you. It was quite an action-packed interview. I think we talked about some really interesting things, and yeah, I would love to have you on again in the future and have you share about more about the updates and tell us what you guys are working on. But thank you so much for doing this. Really appreciate it.
Yeah. Always great to catch up, Sonny, right?
Awesome, man. I'm gonna bring this one to a close. Just hang on for a second.